Welcome back to the Sports Authority. Local 12 digital editor and columnist Richard Skinner joins us. And Skinny, I don't think anyone thought that Cincinnati was going to go into Baltimore and win today. And I do think in certain aspects it could have been worse, but it wasn't very good, 27-3. And I guess we can start sort of with the Bengals on offense, just really no answers for the Ravens' pressures.
Yeah, and listen, you knew it was going to be tough. Joe Burrow knew it was going to be tough. It's the first time he's really faced that kind of blitz action, and especially when it gotten so many third and longs, you're going to face that, and you have no answer for it. And we'll touch on some of those things I thought that they could do better and probably may not be able to as the year goes on. It felt like they had a lot of confidence coming out of last week, and it was almost as if once they got punched in the mouth, it was deer in the headlights for everybody. Zach Taylor, the offensive line, even Joe at time. A.J. Green was a mess. I know we're going to touch on him too. It was a disappointing performance because I just thought this team had gotten past getting slapped around like that, and maybe they have not against the better teams.
There's a lot to talk about, and we will get to it. I do want to talk about watching this game as a Bengals fan. When you look and see how this game is progressing, even though it was a possession or two, basically two possessions for the majority of the game, I know taking Joe Burrow out of a game like that is just a raising the white flag, and nobody wants to do that because everyone's competitive, and you don't get to the NFL without being competitive, and you don't want to come out of a game. But should that be entertained in a game like that?
It should have been after Marlon Humphrey punched the ball out and Patrick Queen ran back the interception, or ran back the fumble for a touchdown. At 20-0, you feel like, all right, get a score, and they were driving. I mean, Mike Thomas catches it, they're down at the 40-yard line with a first down, and maybe you score there, get a stop because you've been getting some stops. And, two-possession game is not impossible in the NFL, but at that point, yes. And it felt like then they did kind of raise the white flag on that last drive when they decided, we won't get Joe Burrow, get his ass kicked. We'll let it be Joe Mixon. I mean, that poor guy, my goodness gracious, he carries it 24 times in a game like this. At the end, and he's still running hard and playing. That catch on 4th and 1 was a great catch. You're going to let Joe Mixon get beat? So, I get it. Don't let Joe Burrow get beat up. Let's just let Joe Mixon get beat up. That's just dumb.
Yeah. The scheme defensively just overpowering the Bengals. You did mention A.J. Green. I asked you a week ago, is it too early to ask the A.J. Green question? I don't necessarily. I know there was a lot of chatter about what he did or didn't say. A lot of there's a lot of experts on Twitter.
A lot of lip readers.
A lot of expert lip readers on Twitter today, but it's trending down, and it doesn't look like there's much chance that it's going to kind of rebound here.
I just don't see it. I didn't see it last week. I mentioned that. I know you were kind of slow to ask the question. You weren't sure you should have asked the question, and you did.
Well, out of deference to Green,
and I
really.
get it. And I get that. I fully understand that. But it just seems like it's the end. And listen, there's a part of me that I'm not buying the hamstring thing, that I feel like he tapped out. But either way, if it's the hamstring too, okay, then you just tell me that you can't do this any longer. That every time you play within a handful of games, you're going to keep getting hurt. And I hate to say that I think he tapped out, but I honestly think he tapped out. But like I said, if he didn't tap out, Jed, okay. Then
what's worse?
Yeah, what's worse? The injury-prone guy getting hurt again. And the reason it felt like a tap out to me was the questions I asked Zach, and a couple others asked Zach about AJ after the game. You were on the Zoom, I think. It wasn't great answers. I even asked him, I said, when were you told he was hurt? At halftime or third quarter? And he didn't really have a good answer. So it's almost like I'm not going to bail him out with that question. It just didn't set well. And then you put the 2 and 2 together with what we think we saw him say to an assistant coach on the bench. None of it looks very good for AJ, to be quite frank.
Okay. There's something to be said for the Bengals defensively and what they did as they continue to just be dealt blows injury-wise. Lamar Jackson didn't play that well.
No, and some of it too was, I think they also game planned around that knee, right? He didn't run.
Sure.
He only had 3 yards rushing, right? Because they didn't want him to run. That was them doing that, but yeah.
Right. His numbers, 19 of 37, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Burrow was 19 of 30 for 183 yards.
Similar, right?
Very similar. And this, you look at the problems, the injury problems defensively, and it's basically all of the free agents that they brought in. DJ Reader, who could potentially be out for quite a long time. Mike Daniels is on IR. Mackenzie Alexander was inactive again. Trey Waynes hasn't seen the field yet this year, and we don't know when his.
At least Josh Bynes is okay.
Okay.
And Von Bell, who can't cover anybody, but yeah, he's okay too.
But Lou Anarumo is figuring out a way, and Lamar may have been limited. We don't know the extent of Lamar Jackson's injury. The Ravens were close to bringing in Murray there for a minute, if you ask Greg Gumbel.
Murray was great there.
But the defense, moving pieces around, is figuring out a way to be effective.
Yeah, and you saw some of the play by the young linebackers, right? Logan Wilson has an interception, and it was argued that initially it looked like he threw it right to him, and he actually explained that he was supposed to blitz, read something else, dropped out. I think Lamar expected him not to be there, and he throws it right to him. Almost had another one. Akeem Davis-Gaither should have had one deep in Ravens territory as well. Those guys are showing up. Jesse Bates has just been great. I mean, really, he saved them 4 points on the first drive by stopping the guy on the end around and then tipping the ball away on third down. He had another couple pass breakups in the game. But yeah, you're right. And at some point, look, this defense was designed to have DJ Reader and Geno Atkins play side by side. Have Josh Bynes be the stopgap with Jermaine Pratt until one of the young guys emerged.
Sure.
Have Trey Waynes be the outside corner opposite William Jackson with Mackenzie Alexander in the slot. And none of that's come to fruition at any point this year. I mean, none of those guys have played a snap together as an entire group. So I think Lou's doing a pretty good job. It's going to get even tougher with no DJ Reader, and we still don't know how much can Geno Atkins still play. It doesn't look like a lot right now, nor should it, but how much can he play moving forward with that shoulder issue?
So the Bengals now with 3 games until their bye week, and that's wishful thinking because they do play the Titans in there. So who knows if the Titans are what they're going to do. They may not even play on Tuesday against the Bills the way things are going, but they'll play at Indy, and then they host Cleveland, and then I believe they host the Titans.
That's correct.
Before the bye.
Yep.
Handicap those games for me.
You know what? And this is this league, right? It is literally week to week, and you have to kind of gauge matchups. In theory, what you said is right. I mean, no one expects them to go to Baltimore and win by any stretch of the imagination, unless you're so rose-colored glasses you can't see anything other than Bengals victories. And if you do, you haven't seen very many in the last few years. So nobody expected that. You didn't expect them to lay quite this egg. Look, Indy's not overly dynamic offensively. Phillip Rivers has had his issues throwing interceptions. I don't know if Darius Leonard comes back to linebacker, but he didn't play against the Browns today, and so that's a factor for them too. And Cleveland's playing very well, but we've seen Baker Mayfield have his turnover issues. And no offense, I know you grew up in that part of the state, and they are what they are. They find a way to brown it up somehow, some way. In Tennessee, you're right. I mean, they have 23 healthy guys by the time they come here and play.
Will their head coach be suspended?
Right, but for that, I mean, yeah, right. I mean, so I'm going to reserve judgment and throw this game out the window, probably like I should have thrown the Jacksonville win out the window, and just say, you know what, for what I've seen for the most part, I think this team competes. They're not ready to compete with the upper echelon, and the upper echelon is Baltimore, and I thought it was Kansas City until what did they do today?
Yeah.
Laid an egg against the Raiders. So that's just this league in a nutshell.
So you expect them to be competitive?
I do.
Leading up to the bye week?
I do. Again, I think this was the worst case scenario for a messed up offensive line and a rookie quarterback and a team playing offense in a phone booth where they can't stretch the field and when he's looking for hot receivers on third downs and they're jammed up because everybody's playing tight, where does he go with the football? Nowhere to go. So, yeah, I think it'll be a much better performance in Indy.
Okay. Richard Skinner, Local12.com, digital editor and reporter. You can catch all of his work on Local12.com, including the Skinny podcast. Thanks, Skinny.
You bet.
We'll be right back.